Fills the atmosphere. Whether or not you listen, you still hear music. It's got the power to take you somewhere. It fills the atmosphere. Whether or not you listen, you still hear music. It has the power to take you somewhere.
Welcome, guys. Welcome to the Brand Identity Design Business Podcast. I'm your host, Jason. I hope everyone here listening to this conversation is having a fantastic morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are in the world. I hope you guys are lovely. Thank you so much for joining today's conversation. We are going to be having a very exciting topic which we have today, the anatomy of a great headlines. Now, if you may have noticed, I have actually wrote the title of today's event incorrectly. It's grammatically not correct. So I want to actually bring this to your attention that it's actually intentionally done. So the correct version should be the anatomy of a great headline. There should not be an S towards the end. Okay, so the reason I have done this is because it's to emphasize that headlines can have a very significant impact, and it plays a very pivotal role when it comes to capturing attention and conveying a brand message, leaving a very lasting impression in front of your audience. So headlines, it's kind of the first point of contact between your company or a brand, and a small grammatical mistake like this can really affect the overall people's perception about who you are as a brand. So you might have the best of quality of products or services which you offer, but sometimes these small mistakes can really have a big impact. So today we will embark on a journey where we will unravel a lot of secrets of crafting attention grabbing headlines with my expert guest Alison Yuen, who is a copywriter and a content marketing strategist. With her background in law, Alison has made some bold decisions to follow her passion, venturing into the world of marketing and copywriting. Just in case if guys want to know, she takes a very aerial view of her business, delving deep into the core to truly understand what makes things tick. She's not just a specialist copywriter, she immerses herself in the coaching industry, experiencing it firsthand, emphasizing with her clients into a whole new level. I know you guys might be thinking that he's reading a bunch of stuff, but her bio is really cool. She has worked with various industries including SaaS, e-commerce, property, construction, and more. Her versatility and adaptability has made her a valuable asset regardless of your industry. I would highly recommend you to go on YouTube, put her name in. You will find a lot of videos wherein Alison has spoken about copywriting. I have thoroughly enjoyed those videos. So thank you, Alison, for being such a spectacular guest and being here. So let's actually, guys, I have this sound effect, cool ass sound effect. Let's make some noise, guys. Let's make some noise. Alison, welcome to my podcast. Thank you so much for being such an awesome guest. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Jason. Thanks for inviting me, and I'm very happy to be here.
Absolutely, me too. I'm also happy to have you as a guest. We will be deep diving into this conversation. So, just in case if you're wondering who this event is tailored towards, so if you're a content creator, marketer, or simply curious about the magic behind impactful headlines, this episode will be a treasure for you guys. It's going to offer you knowledge and even practical tips about headlines, copywriting, stuff like that. So, let's actually deep dive, Allison, into this exciting world of headline writing. Now, we know we all kind of agree. I personally agree, and I'm sure many of the listeners would agree as well. Headlines is crucial for capturing attention and drawing readers in, right? So, could you help us understand what exactly makes a headline truly great? What kind of elements make up the anatomy of a great headline? And could you maybe give us some examples to kind of further illustrate these elements?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that's a really good question. And what I would say is actually, before you begin to write any headline, you really have to know who you're writing for first. So that is the first step before even writing any words. So you want to know your audience. And that's really important because then that will determine what kind of headline you write. So, and also the type of language that you will use. And so then you can actually really speak to the audience needs and wants. So the goal of the headline as well is to make sure that it captures their attention, and whoever sees the headline should be able to tell straight away that they are in the right place. So that's why understanding who your audience, like who are they, understanding that first, and then you can tailor your messaging specific to that audience. And also, another key thing to keep in mind as well before writing a great headline is it's always better to be clear than clever. So, what I mean by that is, um, you as a copywriter, you have to communicate effectively with your audience, and your goal is to prevent them from leaving. So prevent them from just ignoring whatever it is you're putting out there, whether it's an email, a landing page, or whatever it is that you're writing. The headline has to capture their attention and it has to communicate that effectively. So it's always better to be clear than to try and get too creative and then to lose that clarity. So that's why I always say getting clear is always better than being clever. And so what I would say is to the anatomy of a great headline. So just coming back to your question, Jason, is um, if you think about your headline, it should focus on one of these goals. So I always say either sell a benefit or solve a problem, and also hook the reader as well. So if you think about it from the perspective of those three lenses, then that's the anatomy that you can follow. So the benefit, pain point, and how you can solve it, plus the hook as well. So just so you guys know, in case anybody isn't too sure what the hook is, so that can be it's basically anything that makes your headline compelling to your audience. So it could even be, for example, like a piece of data that appeals to people's logic. So, sometimes when you see a headline and it's got a statistic in it, so like increase results by X percentage or something like that. Um, so including a piece of stat there, so that could be a hook, for example. Or alternatively, like your hook could also be something that's unique to your brand as well. So something that resonates with your brand specifically. So if you, depending on what kind of brand you are, um, using certain words that appeal to that particular audience could also hook that specific audience as well. So that's why the words you pick is very important. And in terms of, yeah, just a couple of more examples as well, just so you guys get a feel for the anatomy of different kinds of headlines. So one that I really like is like a how-to headline. So you've probably seen these before, especially online as well. on a landing page, a sales page, a website, for example. So a how-to headline would be something like, actually one that I've written recently for a client. So I've written a headline for selling a workshop, and it's a business workshop for female entrepreneurs. And I actually put how to turn your ideas into a business or project that works and leaves a positive impact on others. So that's the first thing that they see when they land on that page. And that's an example of a how to headline, and that's selling a benefit. So just coming back to the anatomy of a headline, it could be selling a benefit, solving a problem, or hooking a reader. So usually with like a how to headline, you're usually selling a benefit. So what I was selling here is, um, by attending this workshop, you can learn to turn your ideas into a business or project that works and leaves a positive impact on others. Because based on market research on this group of people that we were targeting, we realized that, okay, these guys, they have a business and a project, and usually it's just an idea, but they are stuck on how to actually turn that into something that works, whether it's a business or a project. So that immediately would speak to that desire of theirs, and you're setting a benefit as well, because we know that they want to leave a positive impact on others. That's the benefit that they want from this idea. So that's just an example of breaking down a how-to headline, one that I've done recently, but it's an effective way to communicate the purpose of what you're selling, because you're clearly stating that benefit of your offer, and you're promising a solution as well. So that's one example.
Go on, go on.
Yeah, and there's so many different headlines as well. So like one I've just given you is just like a how-to headline. Another one could also um be one that really focuses on um the value proposition or unique selling points. So I was actually looking at Tony Robbins. So he's a key figure in the coaching industry, and because a lot of my clients are coaches as well, so I went to check out his website just to see, how does he communicate in his headlines. So he is on tour at the moment, and there's like a 4-day experience that he's hosting. He's actually coming to Birmingham, which is where I'm based. So it's called Unleash the Power Within. So maybe some of you guys have heard of Tony Robbins and the events that he runs. And what he said on his page selling this workshop. So the first thing that I saw when I landed on his page was, step into a transformative 4-day experience to fast track growth. And then he put unleash the power within, like in really big. So that's like, so it really, really stands out. And then there's a call to action, which says, yes, save my seat now. So that's another example of an effective headline as well. So if I just break that one down, that one really focuses on, the value proposition that he's going to offer, because he said it's a 4-day experience to fast track growth. So that alone, the words fast track growth, when you see that, you think, oh, okay, first of all, it's 4 days, it's a 4-day experience. So wow, in 4 days, I can really fast track my growth. So it's already that benefit. So he's already selling that benefit. And that's the value proposition as well. And also unleash the power within. So that's his brand. So he uses those words quite a lot. And even I think he has an audio book as well called Unleash the Power Within, so that people recognize those words and they associate it with him. And also using like the word unleash, because it's like a powerful verb. When you use powerful verbs in your headline as well, that's also an effective way to get people to really imagine themselves taking that action. So that's another reason why using active, powerful verbs work really well. And then Yeah, so that's just another example of how an effective headline can work. But there's so many examples, and also, for example, like with Mark Manson. So he's an author. If you go onto his website as well, he also does a very good job at writing effective headlines. So with his newsletter, so on his website, so he has a newsletter, and he has like a ton of subscribers, and like he has a ton of subscribers because he does a really good job in his newsletters, but also his page on the website where he actually gets you to take action to sign up for his newsletter. It really hooks you in because he gives you stats as well. So, earlier I mentioned you could also give figures and stats in headlines. That's another way to hook people in. So, for example, he actually says 5 minutes that could change your life. So just saying 5 minutes that could change your life, like that's very short, to the point, and you're saying 5 minutes. Okay, 5 minutes. That's not a lot of time, and then it kind of draws in your curiosity because you're thinking, "Wow, 5 minutes. So if I commit to 5 minutes, then my life could really change." So using figures like that, but obviously, of course, whenever you make a promise, you always have to deliver on that, because otherwise you then let people down. Um, so that's the promise that he makes in his headline, and then further on, he then says 4,189 people have had breakthroughs so far. Will the next one be you? So that's a really effective way as well to carry on with a headline, because um, you're giving social proof. So you're saying that there's so many people that have already taken action. So it sort of creates a bit of fear of missing out, because you're thinking, oh, wow, so many people have already signed up to his newsletter. And, it's only going to take 5 minutes to read. So many people have had breakthroughs so far. So yeah, I want to be part of that too, because he asks you that question directly. Will the next one be you? So when you use language that directly addresses the reader, such as you, when you use the words you, people can feel more connected to what you're writing as well. So that's why that would work really well in the headline. So yeah, those are just a couple of examples. I could go on and give loads more, but yeah, hopefully that gives listeners an idea of different kinds of headlines, and just listening to how they have been applied in real life scenarios and why they are effective as well.
Absolutely. I appreciate you sharing all those examples. I think it was very, very relevant. Okay. But, I want to quickly do a small recap on some of the things which you said. And I have a few follow up questions related to what you
Yes.
just said. Okay. So you said that, who is the head, when you think of headlines, the first thing you need to prioritize, you said, is who is the headline for, like, what is the target
Mhm.
audience. The second thing which you said was what type of language you use. Could you specify what do you mean by language? Are you referring to English, Japanese, that kind of language, or are you referring to the vocabulary or something else?
Yes, yeah, definitely. I can clarify that. So what I mean is more of the vocabulary that you're using, specific words that you're using, not so much language as in like, oh, English, Japanese, and so on, but language as in the specific words that you choose to use when you're writing. Yeah, because that can have an impact. So, for example, if I am speaking to lawyers, for example, the words I would use and the tone would be quite different to speaking to, for example, um, yogis. So if I'm writing a workshop for people who want to become yogis in Bali, and they're very spiritual, and they are very in tune with their bodies, like people like that, I would use more spiritual language and more language that really speaks to what they believe in,
Yeah, yeah,
versus, yeah,
absolutely.
exactly, versus corporate,
That this make total
people in
sense,
corporate.
especially with,
Yeah.
so you can't, you won't, if you send the stuff which you send to a yogi to a lawyer, they would be like, this is total BS. Okay, and
Exactly.
vice versa, it's not gonna work. So you need to use
Exactly.
vocabulary in a way, according to what you're saying, which kind of gives you the right feel, and
Yes.
the audience should feel like they are in the right spot. Okay, this is how they sound, this is how is usually felt. So
Mm,
then it makes sense. Okay, so next point, okay, next thing which I want to ask you is that, in the beginning you also said that it's better to be clear than being clever. Okay, that really stood
yes.
out. Okay, now would you mind giving me some examples? What do you mean by being clever, being clear and being clever? Can you maybe give us some examples so that that can further illustrate this point?
Yeah. So sometimes when you're writing, you end up getting too creative. And what I mean by that is maybe it's not immediately obvious what you're trying to communicate. So, okay, if I give you an example. So the headline that I've written recently for a workshop. So, how to turn your ideas into a business or project that works and leaves a positive impact on others. So that would be it would be a clear headline rather than clever. Like if I was trying to be clever, use um I would probably try and make it rhyme a little bit. Maybe use a bit of alliteration. So having words that begin with the same letter, and maybe just get a little bit creative. Like, because sometimes with headlines, like it can sound a bit boring, but it tells you directly what it is. Like people read it and they're like, okay, I know what it is. And it's always better to be clear than to come up with something wacky and something like really creative and sounds very cool, but then people may not know what it is. Um,
That's so true.
so
They would get confused. They're
yeah,
like, what the hell is this?
exactly.
What is
So
this
e-
individual trying to say? Go ahead.
yeah, and also another good example is when because in the coaching industry, a lot of people talk about breakthroughs. Like a lot of coaches talk about breakthroughs, and actually a lot of people they don't really know what is meant by a breakthrough as well. So people who have never been coached before, it's I mean, for me personally, like I know what a breakthrough is, and I make the assumption like, oh, okay, people know what it is, like know what a breakthrough is. But actually, when I was doing market research as well, and I realized actually some people don't really know what is meant by a breakthrough. So if I put that in my headline, and if I'm speaking to people who have never bought coaching before, then it's not so clear to them. Like, what does the word breakthrough even mean, and in what context as well? So like, yeah, it sounds cool and it sounds like, oh, this amazing big thing that people can get from coaching, but is it clear? Like, do your ideal clients know what every single word means
Mm-hmm.
in that
Mm-hmm.
headline? And you always have to make sure that people understand the words that you mentioned in the headline as well, which is why it's better to just be, use simple words as well. Like, if people don't understand it, then it's always better to use simple words that even like an
Mm-hmm.
8-year-old can understand.
What would be an alternative to breakthrough? If you had to like reword things for the same thing, what would you choose instead of breakthrough?
Good question. Okay, so I would think about, okay, what is a breakthrough? Like, okay, it could mean different things to different people, but say also it depends on what kind of coaching as well, right? So, for example, if we're dealing with mindset coaching for women who want to leave the 9 to 5 jobs, then instead of using the word breakthrough, I could say, for example, um, learning like um discover your passion project, and um discover the passion project that ignites you or excites you, um and helps you step away from your 9 to 5. like even using more words than saying discover a breakthrough. Like being more specific helps as well. So, but what I've done there is instead of just saying discover your breakthrough with coaching, like actually saying what that breakthrough could be for that ideal client. So if I'm speaking to women with 9 to 5 jobs, then I could say something like it could be discovering your passion project and turning that um, into something that helps you leave your 9 to 5. So being specific in what that breakthrough is for that particular type of coaching. So
Mm.
that's why it's so important to know what you're selling as well,
Yeah.
because breakthrough that alone is so vague
Yeah.
and
Actually,
it's
when
not
I
clear.
heard the word, Alison, I didn't mean to cut you back there. When I heard the word breakthrough, I thought it was some kind of technological related stuff, like we made some
Yeah.
breakthrough innovation. So I think the application of a word can mean so I mean I kind of understand what you're trying to say. First of all, it has to be relevant to the people, the industry which you're trying to cater to. The vocabulary
Mm.
which you're trying to use has to make sense to that crowd which you're trying to cater to. And
Yeah.
don't be a smart ass, don't make it complex. Okay,
Yeah.
stick to something simple. Okay, now I'm just wondering, like, do you when you actually help clients out, okay, with copywriting and stuff like that, everyone wants to like stay ahead of the game, try something new. So do you struggle to make it sound cool at times and still be clear at the same time? Like, is there a challenge there which you experience as a copywriter?
Yeah, there's always that challenge of trying to balance cool, creativity, and clarity. So that's why I say, it's always better to be clear first. So, I mean, if you can be very clear and also at the same time incorporate some creativity into that headline, then yeah, that's perfect. That's amazing. But often, a lot of the times, like what would happen is like you can come up with a headline that's very clear, but it may just sound a little bit like might not be the most creative headline you've ever read, but hey, it does a job because people are still clicking through, people are buying, like you're still getting conversions from it. And then I would say, yes, the headline is clear, but if it's not the most creative thing on earth, it doesn't matter. As long as it's clear, people know what it is, you're getting the right people click through and it's converting, then it's done its job.
Absolutely, absolutely. Let's actually focus on the aspect of tailoring headlines for different platforms and medium, because I think with different platforms, I have seen many copywriters change and modify things a bit. Okay, so could you share insights on how people can tailor headlines in different platforms? Let's say for social media, let's say for email marketing, let's say for print media. How would that work
Yeah.
out? And is it really necessary? Like, can't you just like make one and use it for everything? Do you really need to tailor it?
Yeah, I would say tailoring your headlines for different platforms is really important because with social media, for example, if you think about when people are using social media, like a lot of people are just scrolling through social media. So having shorter headlines, for example, on social media, would be more effective and using words that are clear and to the point. I mean, that applies to all headlines actually, but it really is important to take into account of how people are using these platforms. So that's why with social media headlines, it's good for it to be, to the point because people could just be scrolling on their phone. They could be sitting on a train just scrolling. Like there's so much on social media already. That's why shorter and snappier, clearer, to the point headlines work really well. And you're offering something of value as well in the headline, and also with social media platforms as well. So there's different character limits for different platforms as well. So that's why really understanding the requirements of those platforms before you begin writing is really important. And like that would differ, for example, with emails as well, because with email subject lines, the character limit is different for emails versus social media. So I know with emails, it's like usually between essentially between eight words, 8 to 15. I mean, 15 is a bit long, but like around 8 words, because after a certain point, words get cut off, and then people don't see it. So that's why to write effective headlines, you want to understand with emails, for example, how many characters can you use. With social media like LinkedIn, after the first line, people have to click on see more to then see the rest of the text. So that's why shorter, snappier headlines would work well for that. That really hooks the people to click on see more. So then that also impacts on the algorithm, because then when people can click on see more, they realize, oh, okay, maybe people are interacting with that post. So just even these small things, they have an impact on how your copy performs. And like with emails, for example, you don't want to put in like way too much emojis. Like one emoji in an email is enough, because then it could trigger spam filters. That's where a lot of emails get stuck in people's spam folders, because it's triggering all of these filters they have for email. So if you're putting too many emojis, or if you're using caps, you're using too many exclamation marks, things like that, they just get triggered and get filtered into people's spam box. So that's why it's important to understand things like that. And then with emails as well, you can also make use of the preview text. So you can have a headline and also like a continuation from the headline that people can see on their mobile and on their desktop as well.
This
And
is so interesting, Alison. You know why? Because over the course of in the past 3 4 years, I have made it a point to actually check all my emails in spam. Like I have been doing it. I
Mm,
don't know if others are doing it, but I go on my
mhm.
inbox. I also check spam by default. Like
Yes,
I'm
I
doing
do
it.
as well.
So I mean, it doesn't matter where it hits, like spam or inbox. As long as the person sees it, nothing like it. So I'm just saying, like, I don't have any
Mhm.
issues a mail reaching spam, because I think sometimes even good emails or appropriate emails also ends up being in spam because of filtration
Yeah.
system, whatever. But I like what you said, about social media, tailoring it makes sense. And I think what Allison is trying to say, guys, is that uh, tailoring means like rewording it so that it best suits that specific platforms. For so email, play with those words. For social media, try to make it a little more crisp and shorter. I was wondering, what about print media? How would you tackle that, Giant?
Yeah, so with print media, there's something called there's something called inverted pyramid that journalists use a lot for print media. So like newspapers, like newspaper headlines, magazine headlines. And what it basically is um, so if you think of like a pyramid, but no, it's not pyramid. Well, a triangle, like a triangle, but upside down.
Yeah, like a funnel.
Kind of like a funnel. Yeah, like a funnel. So at the top of the funnel, you start with the most important information. So you would mention who, what, when, where, how. So you write one or two lines that addresses those questions. Yeah, so not too long, like say like 30 words. Um, just so it addresses the most important information, and that would be the hook. And then you would follow that by the body of the information. So that would be um, you know, like background. You could even include photos as well, because with print you can yeah, make use of photos. So if you think about it, with an email, you can't until people click into the email, then you can see a photo. But with print, for example, you can make use of photos a lot more. You can then expand on the headline a lot more. You can put in more information as well. And then further down from the body, then you would include some interesting facts as well. So um, that's how it would differ from online. So you could include more information and there's more chance that people could see it as well. So I'm talking about it from like a newspaper perspective. So if you imagine like a newspaper in front of you
Mm-hmm.
with the big headline that says who, what, where, when, why, and then there's like a photo right underneath it, and then an another small paragraph which then goes into the interesting related information. So it's you can include a lot more, I'd say, from that perspective versus someone just scrolling on social media, which is like it could literally be like 2 seconds scrolling. So that's why with social media, I would say you have to capture it like within like the first 3 seconds. But with print, it's you can make use of it. You can be more creative as well. Different fonts you can use as well on print, and different colors you can use on print that you can't use so much on like social media, and the email subject line, because it literally just appears how people set their default email. With print, you can definitely be more creative, I'd say. Um, and also, if you think about like billboards as well, so if you're just traveling and you see like a massive billboard, like it's very different to how you would see headlines online. Again, there's more like more color, more creativity as well. And I'd say with print, there's not so many rules as social media and online. Um, and also it's more broad because you basically speak to people who see it, right? So if somebody sees a billboard, they just happen to be there at that
Yeah,
specific time. It depends on where it is as well, where it's located and so on, but you can capture a generic audience through
absolutely.
print.
Absolutely. And I've seen a lot of big companies, they do really take this hoarding thing, billboards and those kind of things very seriously. They become very
Mm.
creative. I've seen a lot of big brands do interesting stuff, through those mediums. So I understand what you're trying to say. It makes perfect sense. Let me ask you some. Could you share with us some real life examples or case studies where implementation of headline, you know, techniques like, maybe optimizing it or tailoring it has led to some sort of big improvement in engagement or click through rates or some sort of an outcome which the client wanted?
Yeah, so most of my work, well, actually, all of my work is online. So the examples that I share will be like online examples. So what I want to share is with emails. So I write a lot of emails, and it's something that I've tested different kinds of headlines as well, um, with different kinds of audiences, and just to see how they perform. But one that I want to share is, um, and actually, this kind of breaks some of the rules that I shared earlier, and you'll see what I mean. So, there's a headline that I've written for a client. So when you download a lead magnet. So when you download a free report from a website because you saw the landing page and you thought, oh wow, this free report is so interesting. Like I want to get it in my inbox. So this was an email headline in relation to a free report about lowering your histamine levels. So it was for a client who is a health journalist and he suffers from histamine intolerance, and he's very knowledgeable in that area and he does a lot of research in that area. So that's why he's gathered like a lot of data research and put it into a report. So I wrote a headline for that email, and it was called "Your Free Report: 14 Proven Ways to Lower Your Histamine Levels Right Now," and that performed extremely well. Like we've um, we've had that set up for a couple of years now, and today, like even today, it has like 87% open rate. Um, and I was looking into it. I was like, okay, so 87%. So how come it's yeah? So why is it 87%? And I was really studying it, and I realize as well, so using the words um, you're directly addressing the reader. So something I mentioned earlier, if you use language that says you or you're speaking directly to the reader. And using numbers as well in headlines can work really well. So I've put 14 proven ways to lower your histamine levels. And the reason why using numbers works really well is because people know what they can expect from opening your email or from reading your post, whatever it is that you're writing. If you're using numbers, like for example, if you say like five ways to start a new business or something like that, like people know what to expect. Like they know to expect five different things. Here I'm saying there's 14 proven ways. So I'm telling people that when they open this email, there's a free report and it will give you 14 proven ways to lower your histamine levels right now. And that's a benefit. Like people want, that's what people in his audience want, because they are also histamine intolerant. They want to know how to lower the histamine levels and they want proven ways. So that's why using the words proven ways, like, yes, they are proven ways, and they in this research to back it up as well. So being very specific on what you're offering to the audience is very important. I always say it's better to be specific than generic, because then, like I say, people know what to expect. And everyone is just so busy these days. Like they want to know what they can expect from something. Like if you have a very vague headline, like sometimes people just don't know what it is. And yes, they'll click into it because they're curious. But then sometimes what happens is that people feel like they've been let down because the copy or the content, it didn't deliver on the expectations. So if you do make it clear, that's always better, and being more specific about what you offer so you're not wasting people's time. So I think that's why this headline worked particularly well, because people are opening it and also they are downloading the report. And so yeah, that's just one example. And another one as well that I've done.
87% Alison is kick ass. I'm just saying, like, whew.
Yeah, yeah, I say, it's above 50%.
Nobody checks my
And
email, like the stuff which I sent out, like hardly. Like they kind of know what I'm actually sending out. Okay, so I don't get that
Mhm.
kind of open rate. So is there a possibility that if people are kind of familiar with what you do, they might be subscribed, but they may not still open it.
Yeah, there is that possibility as well. That's why I say it's, you're never going to get 100% open rate, and you're never going to get 100% click-through rate. Like, and there could be a whole host of reasons that you'll never know for sure unless you ask them directly. But sometimes people just subscribe to something and they get distracted with something else that comes into their inbox, or something else happens, and then they never actually end up opening the thing that they have subscribed to because they simply got distracted. Or there's just so many different factors as well. Like you will never know for sure. And also, what I would say as well, like with open rates, it's just a figure for guidance. Like, you know, use it as an indicator. So just as an indicator of how well your email is performing, but it's not like the be it and all. Like, if you
Yeah.
don't get
Yeah, if you
if
don't
you
get
don't
it,
get
your
over.
business is not gonna die.
Yeah,
You don't have to like
exactly.
drop your idea and shut things down. It's just open rate.
Exactly.
I kind of I totally agree with you. It's a metrics to it's good to know. I feel if even if people don't open it, but they are not unsubscribing or reporting you as spam, I
Hmm.
think it's still good. So at least they
Yeah.
kind of trust who you are as a business. They might not be engaging with it, x factors, whatever. Have you also encountered this thing wherein you are paying for something, and you get notified for it, still people don't check it out? Have you also encountered that? Forget about the free stuff, like things which people pay month on month, like some sort of subscription, something, and they receive these kind of emails and they probably don't check it. Have you encountered that?
Yeah, I have. And honestly, even from my own perspective, I have subscribed to like memberships that I pay monthly for and I get emails. And sometimes I don't open it straight away, you know? Sometimes I open it like a few weeks later, and sometimes I open it. It just depends on what you have going on in that moment right now. That's why with open rates as well, it's like just because somebody doesn't open straight away doesn't mean you're doing a bad job, because sometimes people take some time to open their emails. Like not everybody will open it straight away. So you have to give it a bit of time as well to analyze the data, and not just with one email. Like don't look at it just from one email. You have to zoom out. You have to look at how it's performing as a whole. So if it's part of a campaign that you're doing and you're writing a number of emails, don't just look at one email. Look at how all the emails are performing as a whole, because there could be different factors that impact on, you know, the open rate itself. So whether it's a free thing that you're delivering or a paid thing that you're delivering, there's still external factors that can impact on the open rate. But I would always analyze the data, but also not like, you have to analyze it fairly, I'd say.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I know many of you guys have joined the conversation, and I know Mohammed, you were raising your hand. We will start Q&A in about 5 to 7 minutes. So if people are interested in coming up and asking Alison question directly, now would be the opportunity. So please raise your hand. And I would be happy to bring you up. Just another reminder: the conversation is being recorded. So if you come up, you're giving us consent to go ahead with it. All right. So another question which I want to ask you, Alison, before we start Q&A, is that different content creators, people who are just starting up with this whole headlines, copywriting, and stuff like that. What kind of advice would you give them? And what kind of challenges do you think these people would experience, or pitfalls these creators would end up encountering once they start making headlines? So, what would be your suggestion on that?
Yeah, so speaking from experience, um, sometimes no matter how good your headline is, like you could follow all the formulas and uh, you could follow all the formulas and also be very clear, but at the end of the day, the headline could still fall flat. So I know it's not what you want to hear, but that's just the truth. Like sometimes you think a headline is so good and the client loves it, you love it, but when you test it out to more people, then you realize, oh, okay, maybe there were certain assumptions that were made about that target audience. So that's why, as a content creator or a copywriter, that's a challenge. And that's why I say it's so important to understand your audience by actually having real conversations with people that you're trying to target. Speak to those people and get to know them, like get to know what they really are like. And that's the only way that you can create something that they desire. So, and that starts off with having those conversations, because if you don't have clarity and if you're making assumptions about what people like and what people understand, and if you're making assumptions about their desires and their pain points and all of that, then no matter what formula you apply for the headline, it's still going to fall flat, because you're not speaking to them really. And that's why it's so important to test assumptions in marketing. I'd say the more you know your audience, the better you can create headlines that speaks to them. And yeah, I'd say that's a challenge for copywriters, but also just business owners as well. Create As a business owner, you're creating products, you're creating services that appeal to a specific target audience, and nailing that, nailing who you're targeting. Once you get clear on that, then the headline will flow, because then you know who you're speaking to. So that's why it's important to just go back to basics first. Like, who are you really speaking to? And it's worth spending a lot of time getting clear on that.
Absolutely. Those are some great points, Alison, which you shared. Let's actually take a quick break. I wanted to let people know that if you do like what I do as a podcaster, and if you're interested in becoming a guest, I don't have any slots open for season 4, which I'm doing currently, but we can try wiggling you through on season 5. If you do like to join the waitlist, please DM me guest, and I will send you a link so that you can join the waitlist along with all your information. Please remember, I do have a team who's going to filter through all the stuff which you sent and decide if you would be a good fit for the show. I want to actually give a shout out to my sponsor. Sponsorship does help us to minimize some of the expenditure to run this podcast. Whether you believe it or not, it does cost money to run these kind of shows, doing scheduling, finding guests, creating resources, assets to produce a show, including the music which you heard in the beginning. Everything costs money. So shout out to my sponsor, Dr. Amanda Fureyland. I'm going to quickly play a small ad, and during this time, I'm going to be personally having a sip of water and just relax. And hear this ad out, guys.
Do you want to find out how your neurology works? Do you want to understand why you do what you do? Then it's really simple. Just check out yourlifeliveit.com, and there you'll find lots of different ways for you to be able to learn more about you, why you do the things you do, and more importantly, how to change those in a really quick, effective way. We call it unthinkable change. The change that you'll experience with neural coding is fast and it lasts. Don't wait anymore. You get 86,400 seconds every day. Once it's gone, it's gone. We are committed and passionate about helping people create unthinkable change in their lives. We've been doing this since 2008 and literally changed over 41,000 problems, deleted them from the neurology, and then installed a solution that works best for the client. Whether you want to work one-on-one or take one of our award-winning neural coding online courses, take action today. The costs of not doing that are just more days wasted. So connect with us. We're here to help. We're here to help you create unthinkable change that's fast and it lasts. It's your life. Live it.
So that's Dr. Amanda, who is an international speaker. She has around 1.9 million views on her TED Talk and has spoken in over 14 countries. She's also been a keynote speaker for over 36 years and has impacted over 3.5 million lives and is the number one best-selling author. So if you are interested in being recoded, please book your discovery call with Dr. Amanda at the website yourlifeliveit.com. Something which I want to highlight, guys, is that when it comes to sponsorship, I do not allow outsiders to actually have any sort of advertisement opportunity on my podcast. It's only and only specifically for my guests who I have interviewed. I've interviewed more than 100 guests, I think, so far. So this is my 104th live podcast. Currently trending on Spotify on the top 30% most followed business podcasts. It really took me a lot of work and challenge to make this happen. And this wouldn't have happened unless and until you listeners who are listening to this conversation, wouldn't have supported me. So I would strongly encourage you to follow my podcast because every bit of that really helps with the analytics, helps me to have a higher reach. Once you stay subscribed, you get exclusive access to content which I produce and sometimes I share. All right, so let's actually start with Q&A, Alison. Are you kind of ready for Q&A? Are you ready, Alice?
Yes, I am.
Okay, I know we just have two individuals on stage. I would highly encourage my friends as well as others who have joined this conversation. Please do come up. This is an opportunity wherein you can speak to a copywriter face to face, virtually. I mean to say, and clarify some of your doubts. You can be a business owner, you can be a copywriter, you can be into marketing, you can be a designer like myself, anyone. All right, so please do not hesitate to come up. All right, so I'm going to start with Muhammad, who was the first person to raise his hand. And I'm so sorry I could not bring you up. We have a format to the show. I hope you understand. And I apologize if I made you wait. Do you have a question for Alison, or would you like to contribute to this conversation?
Thank you so much, Jason. Hi, everyone. Let me introduce myself first. I'm Muhammad Ali Shahzad from Pakistan. I'm a direct response copywriter. And Jason, I do not have a specific question to ask to Alison. In fact, I myself a copywriter, so I want to add something like I want to contribute to this conversation. So, would you allow me to speak?
Absolutely,
Yeah,
my
of
friend.
course.
Please go
Yeah,
ahead.
thank you. Yeah, thank you. I was listening to you guys, and both of you were like Alison was talking about. You asked a question about being clear or being clever, and the importance of being clear and clever in copywriting. I believe that both of like these approaches are very important because while a copywriting, creating a content, writing a message, a brand message for he needs to understand the audience like he needs to be very specific, straightforward, like when his when the approach is to be clear, then the message he when he like he is prioritizing clarity, then his main goal should to overcome the confusion of the audience. Let me share an example. Like there is a headline of example of clarity is get 50% off on all product this weekend. Sale ends on Sunday. Get it? It's an
Mhm.
example. It's an example of like clarity. The headline is very clear, and this message it's very concise, leaving no room, no confusion for the reader. On the other hand, being clever is to use like engaging and capturing words to like gain the attention of like when a person use like clever approach. He may use humor, incorporates wordplay. For example, a clever headline: "Unlock the secret to effortless style with Fashionista Friday. Dress to impress without distress." Get it? Like in this
Mm-hmm.
headline, we are using words
Mm.
like
Yeah, yeah.
playing with words,
So,
but
I mean,
it's not.
I thought Muhammad was kind of, gonna debate and say that that's not true, but apparently he's agreeing to you, Alison. He's saying that what you said is
No,
right. So,
No, no, I'm not. I don't want to disagree or I don't want to say that I'm disagreeing, but I'm placing my point of view in front
oh,
of
he's
you guys.
disagreeing. I thought you.
Yeah.
I don't know. Did you find Alison him being disagreeing to what you said? I thought it was kind of in
Um,
the same
it
line,
was
though.
Yeah, I thought it was the same line because like what I understood it to be is it's good to be clear because like the first example that Mohammed gave about get 50% off or something, that was very clear and people know what to expect. And it's probably not the most, not the most interesting headline, but it's very clear. And that alone has done a good job because it's clear. Um, and the second one being clever. And that was also a very good example as well that Mohammed gave, like dress to impress without distress, like using wordplay and humor. And that is a very clever headline, I'd say. But hey, maybe it worked well, maybe it didn't work well. Like unless you look at the data behind it and how it performs for that specific audience, like maybe being clever worked well. So I'd say there's no right or wrong, like you can, I would always say be clear. But maybe certain audiences like to like clever headlines and that works well for that specific audience, then that's great. So it's always looking at the data behind it as well. But I'd always say, yeah, definitely be clear first.
Yeah,
Absolutely, absolutely.
Alison. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, Alison. I just want to say that I believe that we should follow these two approaches. Like a copywriter or content writer better knows which approach, like we can use both of these approaches while writing headline, while writing copy.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Yeah. The different approaches, definitely. But you can, as a copywriter, content writer, you can make use of those different types
Yeah,
of headlines
yeah.
for sure.
Awesome.
And I also want to add that as far as I have learned copywriting, there are like as per Joe Vitale, he has written in his book Hypnotic Writing, like 30 ways of writing headline.
Yeah.
So I think Alison has already discussed all of those. I haven't listened to her, like I joined late in this event, so I think she might have discussed much of them. There is like asking an is intriguing
Mm-hmm,
question.
mm-hmm.
There is a novelty. There is like there are
Hmm.
many
You're
methods.
stealing the show, Mohammed.
Yeah,
My guest is the
yeah,
superstar on the show. You're
yeah. Thank
stealing
you so
you're
much.
stealing her from the runway. Like, I want the spotlight to be on Alison, not you. Come on.
Yeah,
No,
thank
thank
you
you
so
for
much.
your contribution. No,
Thank you so
honestly,
much,
thank
Yeah,
you for
Mohammed.
your
thank you.
contribution. It's
Oh,
always good
thank
to
you.
hear different perspectives, and that's what it's about. That's what it's about.
Yeah,
All
thank you
right.
so much.
No problem.
That's what
Please
I wanted
continue
to
to be
say.
on stage. We might have something engaging, within a few minutes. So that might require audience participation. So please continue to be on stage. I want to say hi to Landy. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Welcome. Did I pronounce your name correct? Okay, she might be
Hi,
away.
Landy.
Hello, Landy. You have to press the unmute button. It's right at the bottom of your screen. Okay, so maybe she's not available. If anybody else is interested in coming on stage, you're welcome to come up. Okay, how about you, Shirley? I have not spoken to you in quite some time. And Peter, I was about to say, Peter, come on stage, okay? Because I remember, you were a part. I think when we spoke a few months back. Yeah, I remember talking to you also. So, Peter, how are you?
I'm fine. Thank you very much. I appreciate this program. It's excellent. And my question is simply this. Allison, can you speak to how we walk that fine line between writing compelling headlines and just creating clickbait? Thanks.
Yeah. So what I would say is it always has to be compelling, but you have to deliver on your promise. Basically, in short, you have to deliver on your promise, especially in this online space. There's so much distrust. There's a lot of people promising big results but failing to deliver, and people are burnt by that. So that's why building your trust and your credibility is so important. And especially, when people haven't even met you, and if it's their first point of contact with your brand, every everything from your headline to to the graphics you use, to the words that you pick, like all of that plays a part on your personal brand. So you never want to make people feel that they've been cheated on. So that's why it's very careful to make sure whatever you write, and especially the headline as well, just take a step back and zoom out and ask yourself, have I delivered on that promise? So if I'm saying that there's going to be 14 proven ways to lower histamine levels, for example, have I really delivered on that in the content and the rest of the content? If the answer is yes, and I'm comfortable with it, then yes, great, I'm going to send that. But if you're unsure, or if there's a slight element of doubt, then I would always revisit, like, what is causing that doubt? Like, really follow your intuition in that sense, because you just don't want to burn people. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, that was great. And um, I guess from my perspective, and I think I probably have a similar experience to very many people, but I'll tell you, if I see a headline that appears to be compelling, but almost like too good to believe, and I click it and I find it to be hyperbolic and over the top, I will immediately leave, and I'll tell you what, I'll never go back again. So I guess one of my comments would be we should all be very careful, because once burned, you may lose people for good.
Yeah, 100%. Like it's hard to earn people's trust, I'd say, but you can damage that trust in seconds. So that's why it's so important to really just step out and zoom out and ask yourself that question, like, would I be okay if I received an email like this, or if I wrote this headline and if it didn't deliver, like, how would I feel? Like, put yourself in the audience shoes, and how would you feel if you received that as well? That's another good test.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Peter.
Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you so much. I really appreciate him. He was a contributor on Philip's show, and that's how I met Peter. And he's very intelligent, very smart. So thanks so much for being here, and I appreciate that question. Welcome, Rose. So nice to see you again. Do you have a question, or would you like to
Yes.
contribute?
Hi, Jason. Nice to talk to you again. How are you?
I am fantastic. I hope you are also. So let's hear your question. Let's see what you have to talk about today about copywriting
Yes, I'm
headlines.
excited to ask Alison a question because I see that on her headline, she said, attract ideal clients, build a loyal audience, and create a freedom-based business, which is exactly what I'm trying to do here on LinkedIn. So I'm wondering, as somebody who is not a social media strategist or never took like marketing courses or copywriting courses, how do I begin to build a strategy to achieve what it says in your headline?
Yes. Yeah, that's great. And congratulations for starting that journey, because I know it's not easy. Even just taking that first step is a big thing. So well done for doing that. And I would say what I would do is really ask the question to yourself, like, okay, you want to attract ideal clients. Like, who are your ideal clients? And why do you want a freedom-based business? Like, really getting clear on your own values and what you really want. Because if you want to create a freedom-based business, like, why is that as well? Like, really getting clear on that, because then that would also determine the business model you create, and it would also determine the kind of clients that you want to work with. Do your clients also value the same thing as you? So if you value creating a freedom-based business, then are you wanting to speak to clients that also value the same thing? Because what I find is I'm attracting clients that value the same things as me. So I value creating a freedom-based business. So a lot of the content I put out there on social media and on my website, I'm talking about creating freedom, being able to create more time. Why hiring a copywriter is, it will be good for their business because they get to focus on other things, such as being with their family, going on holiday, taking that time off, and focusing on their personal interests. So it will also impact on the language that you use. So that's why if you are very clear on who exactly your ideal clients are, then that would impact on the words you use, the words that you send out to the world. And then that would impact on the audience you create. And that also then impacts on your own business, like how you create your business. So it's all connected. So just going back to basics, like why do you want this and who do you want to attract? Just mapping that out, writing it down, and then you can see it unfold in front of you. So I'd say start with that clarity first, like why.
Yeah, thank you. I think that's a missing piece because I find that a lot of people who are successful on LinkedIn, for example, they have a very narrow scope as to who their audience are and what they are trying to achieve. For me, right now I have like a more wider scope, I would say, that because I'm interested in so many things. And so how do I begin to create like uniformity or like something that kind of binds all the interests that I have together?
So Rose, I just want to check with you as well. So is it so I'm just on your profile right now. So is it storytelling that you're so that's one of the interests?
And that's one of the interests.
Hmm.
Yes.
So
Ultimately,
mhm.
I want to create, well, empowerment, through women's empowerment and empowerment for people with neurodiversity. Um, I don't know if what that's exactly going to look like. If it's going to look like, just, launching a podcast, if it's going to look like coaching services. There's so many things that I have in mind, but I need to start kind of narrowing things down.
I'd say that's great that you're interested in so many different things, and I would explore with that. So great that you're interested in so many different things. Before deciding to narrow down, just play around with it and just really explore which one is there one that appeals to you the most or not so much, or can you connect all of these different interests together? And I think when you're on LinkedIn as well, when you start connecting with more people on LinkedIn, so you mentioned creating empowerment in women and also people with neurodiversity as well. So if you start connecting with people that are neurodiverse, if you start connecting with more women and just having conversations with those people, you'll find as well on social media, a lot of people do want genuine conversations, that people just want to have that connection. And not have somebody who's just there to sell to them. Like if you have genuine conversations, then you can really find out, what do these people really need? Is there something that they need that you can offer? And how does that link to your
Yeah,
interest?
I've been having conversations because I host audio events here on LinkedIn, and they've become very popular, and we've built a community here. And so, yeah, that is given me all of these new ideas that because
Mm.
previously I was going to do something else, but I realized my passion lies somewhere else. So you know, through interacting with others, I've learned what it is that I want, as well as who's my kind of audience, if you will.
That is
That's
so
great.
cool.
That's great.
Yeah,
You're already
that is
doing it.
super cool. I would encourage Rose that, if you want to brainstorm things further, you should reach out to Allison. In fact, she's really cool.
Yeah, I
I
already
would.
sent her a connection
Oh,
request.
nice, nice. Please connect with her offline, and you never know. Sometimes I have noticed that as an entrepreneur myself, you don't know sometimes everything, and most of the times you don't know everything. It's good to reach out and just ask people randomly questions, and sometimes it just helps. People throw in ideas what may have worked for. So try it out. I'm sure you are on the right path. I've seen your audio rooms. I think it's pretty kick-ass, what you do.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you. I
and
appreciate
I
that.
appreciate that, and I appreciate you being here. Okay, now we are kind of running a little short on time, and we have just one last person who is there on stage. Her name is Landy. Thank you so much, Landy, for joining back. So, please go ahead and ask that question directly to Allison, and let's hear her thoughts on that.
Okay. Can you guys hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes, 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 of
Yeah.
course.
Great. Okay. Yeah. Well, thank you so much. This is very, very informative for me. So, my question is, if you recommend using the inverted pyramid method for blogging articles and emails, or is it best saved for print media only?
Yeah, you can use that with emails and blogs as well. Um, the only thing with print as well is with the inverted pyramid, with print, you can write a lot more for print, I'd say. So just be conscious with emails and blog posts, because with blog posts, for example, you also want to make sure it's SEO aligned. So, for people who don't know what SEO is, it's search engine optimization, and that's where you use strategic keywords as well. So, with blog posts, that's a great opportunity to apply the SEO strategy. So, yes, you can use the inverted pyramid with blog posts, and you have the most important information at the top, and then followed by the details and then background information. but there would be other things to consider as well, such as um, the character limits for Google, because with the headline for Google, I think it's like I think it was like 60, no, not 60 characters,
Yeah,
but
it's
there's
pretty
a
small
character
though.
limit.
Like you can't do much.
Yeah, exactly. So you can't write as much versus how you would like in a magazine or a newspaper. So just keeping that in mind for blog posts, especially if you have a long-term strategy to be seen online through organic search. And that would be an extra layer to consider. And also, yes, you can apply the inverted pyramid to emails as well. So that would be more suitable for the email content itself rather than the headline, because with email headlines, like what email subject lines, they're pretty short as well, like around 60 characters for people to actually see them. So yes, you can apply the inverted pyramid, but I would say it's more for the content of the email. So once somebody opens the email, then you go into the inverted pyramid, then you talk about, the most important information at the top, and then the details and background information and so on. So yeah, I would encourage people to Google inverted pyramid so you actually see the diagram in front of you, and that would be a good formula to write articles as well and emails.
Okay, thank you.
You're
That's so
welcome.
cool. Thank you so much, Landy, for asking that question and clarifying your doubt. I think it's about time we should have a little fun and we should do quickly a rapid fire round. I know it was extremely loud. I'm so sorry. I did not adjust the volume. So let's retry that again. Okay, that's a little softer. All right. So rapid fire questions. Okay. So I know I wanted to ask you a few questions, but we're kind of running short on time. So what I would do is I'd ask one question and one common question for everyone on stage, including you. Okay. So my first question is, if your headlines could win any sort of award, what would the acceptance speech would sound like? And you don't have to be very brief, Alison.
What would the acceptance speech sound like? Uh,
Let's take that the 14-day that thing. Okay, let's say that because it has the 87% open rate. So if let's say that that ends up winning some sort of an award, and people
okay.
were to reach out to you and Alison, thank you so much for giving this world this excellent headline. And so how would that acceptance speech would sound like?
Acceptance. Sorry, I didn't quite understand. So if the headline could win an award, what would the acceptance
Yeah. So
speech
I'm
sound like?
saying in the context, as in you created it, so you are the owner. So I think you would end up getting the award. So what would that acceptance speech would sound like?
Oh, okay. So when I get the award, okay. I'd say
Tough one.
oh no,
Should
that
we let
sounds
this
really
slide?
tough. um,
Maybe that was a
yeah,
shitty
thank
question.
you. Yeah, I would address the audience directly. So thank you for this acceptance. Thank you thank you for this award. And I don't know. Yeah, I
I'm
would
so
also
sorry.
address the person directly.
It
So
sounds like I
yeah,
threw you under the bus with that question. All right.
I
All
wasn't
right. Let's try something else. Okay. This is a common question which I had for everyone. So if you had to rewrite the headline from a famous movie to make them clickbait worthy, what would they be? Okay,
good
this is the
question.
question.
Okay,
So I'm going to give you some time, Alison, so that you can reprocess it. I'm going to start with
so
the last person, so Landy, and we will go backwards, like the inverted pyramid thing. So Landy, would you like me to repeat that question again?
Yes, please.
Okay, there's nothing called as right or wrong answers. You can be as funny as you want. So if you could rewrite a headline of a famous movie and make it clickbait worthy, what would that be?
oh,
Okay. Now, if you don't know it, that's cool. You can pass. That's also okay.
I probably have to pass. I'm not very good on the spot.
All right. Let's hear from
I just
Rose.
thought of one.
Rose. Okay. Can you guess a movie? Like, can you think of a movie? Or would you like me to phrase that question for you?
Um, I was the first thing that came to mind was Jerry Maguire, because I saw that movie for the first time recently. So Jerry Maguire, if you're not familiar, there's that famous line from that movie called "You complete me." You so he says to the girl, "You complete me," and so I would rewrite that and say, actually, we are two complete people trying to work this thing out together. That's it. So be more realistic about it. kill the romance.
Alison, I must say that she's very creative. She was able to come up with this. So that's super cool,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Rose.
great job.
Great job.
Thank
Great
you.
job. That's really cool. All right, let's hear from Peter. Peter, would you like me to phrase that question? Would you like me to ask you that question again? Or do you have something
No,
in
no,
mind?
I got it. No, I got it. I think I would rewrite. I would write a headline for Jaws and say, "So much blood in the water, you'll never go to the beach again."
Mm-hmm.
That's super cool. That's super cool. I really like that. That's really nice, Peter. So, hey, nice. You were able to come up with this. Let's actually hear from the direct response copywriter, Muhammad. So, tell us, okay, can you think of a movie, rewrite the headline of a famous movie and make it a little more clickbait worthy? What would that be?
Jason, I think my favorite movie is Now You See Me. Uh, but right now I'm thinking that how should I make it
Yeah, you're a
clickbait?
copywriter. Come on.
Yeah, 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 but
You're
not.
giving us advice just a while back. So, I'm positive you can come up
Yeah,
with something cool.
um, Now You See Me. I'm just thinking.
That's okay. That's okay. Don't worry. Don't worry.
Yeah,
I appreciate your
you.
participation, though. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you
Thank
so
you so
much.
much.
If you do think about it, and if you do have an answer, do not forget to DM me. I would be happy to give you credits when I post this episode.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So no, nothing hard, but I appreciate you being here. So, Alison, you had like enough time.
Yes.
So let's try that.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Which movie?
So I thought about the film White Chicks, and it's just a really hilarious film where two policemen go undercover. So I just thought a clickbait headline could be how two policemen went undercover as female socialites and saved the world.
Okay, I've actually seen this movie, and this is a super cool movie. I really like what you have come up with. Could you say that again, once again, slowly?
Yeah, how two policemen went undercover as female socialites and saved the world.
That is super cool. That
It's a bit
is,
dramatic, the
but it
headline.
is interesting. It is interesting, and I'm glad you were able to come up with this within this short period of time. In fact, I like the fact that even Rose, Peter, you guys were able to come up with this in within the short stipulated time. It shows how creative you guys are. I could not think of shit. While we were trying to process. While I asked you that question, I myself could not do this. Anyway,
Yeah.
Alison, now is the time. Actually, I want you to tell the whole world, like how you can be at service and help, people out. Like, what would be some of the services which you would offer as a business, and how you can help people out, and if there is any sort of events or promotions or anything which is lined up in the next few weeks you want people to be aware of or people to participate, you can also promote that on my show.
Yes, well, thank you, Jason, for having me on. So I really invite people um, who really want to impact on other people, and they have a service or a product that you really want to get out there, but you're just struggling to put in words, and you're not so sure how to communicate it online to an audience. And that's how I can really help you, because what I do is I really step into who you are and what you offer in your business, and I really get to understand your approach, find out what's really different from you versus your competitors, and really get the best out of you and turn that into words, whether that's through websites, whether that's through social media or emails. Because a lot of the times, as business owners, we're so close to our business, and we sometimes don't see what other people see as well. So a lot of my clients, they say that, oh, like, oh, thank you, Alison, for pointing that out to me. And because I also interview their clients, so I also help you with that research process. And actually, a lot of the times with copywriting, it's not just about writing. A lot of the times is spent on research and really getting to know your audience and just seeing things from different angles. So having a copywriter and a strategist on board can be very valuable, and that's what I offer to the world, and I really do love it. And if any of you listening, and if you're not so sure where to begin, I do offer a free 1 hour strategy session. So we could talk about your ideal audience and what you are offering, how we can position it. So it's more than just copywriting alone. It's more of like a online marketing strategy, because I'm also a marketing manager and I'm studying a marketing course. So I don't see copywriting as like a standalone thing. Like, I see it as part of marketing, which is something that I help my clients with as well. So yes, that is my invitation to everybody listening. If you want to book onto a free 1 hour strategy session with me, then please reach out and DM me, and I am more than happy to support you.
Absolutely, absolutely, guys. So thank you so much, Alison, for all that specifics as to what you do and how you can serve and help people out. I would highly encourage people to take advantage of this. 1 hour is something, is quite a lot. And I personally feel that, she knows her craft, and you were able to gauge some of her expertise in this session itself, right? How she creatively came up with this interesting headlines and how remodifying it. So I think it requires a certain amount of skill set, which I don't think not everyone, talent is not something which everyone would possess. There might be a little downside to things. So I think Alison really knows her stuff. So if you want to take advantage of her services, please either message her directly on LinkedIn, okay, or you can go to alisoncopywriting.com. I also want to let you guys know about the next week's event. So that would be my 105th, I think, episode. And it's about storytelling for an effective non-profit marketing. I have not actually spoken to anybody about non-profit marketing, so that would be a very interesting take. So I'm going to be interviewing Julia Campbell, July 19th. The timings would be shifted. It's going to be at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm really considering, guys, to change the time to 3 p.m. EST so that we can cover United Kingdom and Australia, because I have a lot of audience from Australia who are kind of missing out on the schedule, and I want to make it accessible for them as well. It helps the show reaches a wider audience. So is there any last thing, Alison, or one last takeaway of anything you want to leave my listeners with, from this whole entire conversation? One thing you want people to take away from this conversation. What would that be?
Yes. So I would say be yourself, especially in the online space. Just be yourself, whether that's in writing, whether that's in video, audio, however you show up online, just be yourself, because that is really how you attract your ideal clients. And that's also how you create a sustainable business long term as well, one that you enjoy working on.
I totally agree. I also want to give a special thanks to Ziza Natur, who helped me introduce me to Alison. She's the one who recommended me. So, shout out to Ziza. She was been a guest on my show previously, and she is definitely an amazing individual, not only to interact and well experienced. I had a fantastic show with her, same as you, Alison. So, I wanted to say thanks to each and everybody listening to this conversation. Please take care of yourself, stay healthy, eat healthy, exercise, have fun. Please continue following my podcast. If you're not following, please do so. It helps me out. You have an amazing day, morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you're in the world. Take care of yourself. Bye.